to segment 2 of our Hatsubasho Tachiai podcast. We're here talking about the could be, hopefully will be, Hatsubasho that we think is coming up in just a week in Tokyo. And it's time for our world famous, always delightful, and always surprising Genki report. That's where we talk about who's hot, who's not, who we think is healthy, and who we think is probably going to fall down on their face. And I think that one of the places we really need to start is possibly going to turn into the comeback story of sumo history, and that's none other than our lovely kaiju, Terunofuji. Josh, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on Terunofuji, because he showed up at the joint practice, and it's not just that he's big, because he's always been big, and it's not just that he's strong, because he's always been strong, but where did he get this technique? This guy is throwing around some really monstrous technique now. The skill, the precision, it's kind of frightening. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Well, it helps if you're in a really, really, really good stable surrounded by really, really good coaches and a number of other very technical high-level rikishi. But, to me, he's the most interesting story, I think, possibly even of the tournament, because really we want to know how far this, as you say, redemption can go, right? He's come back. He's had a great title, but he almost won another Yusho last time. And yes, he lost convincingly in the playoff, but to me, his Senchuraku win to get to the playoff over the same opponent in Takakeisho was absolutely stunning. It brought back memories for me of Endo and Hakuho at the beginning of the year. And so it was kind of a nice bookend to 2020. He really didn't have a great Ozeki career the first time out. So I think this tournament, if he can take another step towards getting back there, there could be even more redemption ahead. I think it's going to be hard for him to win the Yusho, but double digits at Sekiwake, real solid performance. And, I know I say this every time, but as you see another guy coming up and another guy coming up and him coming back from Jonidan, if he could do that, it's a real kick in the teeth to someone like Matakayumi, who continues to fail in that same position, while here comes Terunofuji out of nowhere to do what so many have done in the last year.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of discussion in the sumo internet world, the netizens trying to figure out if Terunofuji has a magic number for this tournament. But his prior one was 8 wins in the rank and file, and this will only be his second tournament in Sanyaku. So we think that he's probably got at least one more to do. Andy, thoughts about Terunofuji?
Well, it was interesting what you were talking about, like the thing is, he can't really brute force his way through Makuuchi anymore. And so that's where he really had to branch out. And so it was like that he had that need to, I guess, develop the technique. Whereas before, he would be able to go toe-to-toe against Ichinojo or somebody and just rely on that brute strength.
Well, he still lifted and shifted someone last time, right? Well, so it's there on tap, but he's just not going to use it every time now.
Yeah, he doesn't have any meniscus anymore in his knees, and I imagine it hurts. And it's not something that that I guess in Japan they don't make the really strong painkillers readily available to athletes. Like unfortunately they do here. But I imagine that with the pain, he's definitely learned that he needs to, I guess, broaden his toolkit and not just get a bigger hammer. And so he has learned very well, and it's very interesting to see him with the technique on top of the strength.
Okay, so we're gonna go from the fierce to the ridiculous. Ryuden picked up some really bizarre pre-Tachiai maneuvers in the last tournament. Something happened. Was it one of Kisana Sato's fire ants got into his mawashi or something? I don't know, but by golly, those hips were in motion. Andy, you picked Ryuden to talk about in the Genki report. Was it only about his gyrations?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Well, I will confess that for a couple of matches, it did distract the daylights out of his opponents, and they didn't know what to do. Was he feeling romantic? Was he? I mean, what are you trying to communicate here, sir?
Well, I'm hoping it's about the rhythm and trying to get himself into a rhythm before. But I wonder. I guess as much as he's going to twerk, there will be a threshold to where his opponents will start to figure it out.
Well, so there was no comment from the Kyokai or from the YDC about his shall we say extracurricular gymnastics or athletics. I don't know. Josh, what did you think about his pelvic impressions?
Yeah, I think as the former poet laureate Shakira once said, hips don't lie. So, I mean, look, the YDC isn't going to comment on somebody who's that far down the Bonza cake. And I think that, as far as he's concerned, as you said, it's something that, whether it's a timing thing or something else, it gave him an advantage, maybe in a few matches. But as Andy points out, sumo is very, very good at one thing at most of the time. And that's that, when someone finds an advantage, the rest of the group collectively tends to react to that.
Oh, dear God.
So who knows? Who knows how long it can go on?
I don't want to see Hakuho twerking.
I hope so.
Or Ichi Nojo. No Ichi Nojo twerking.
One thing about Ryuden that I discovered that's very interesting in the way that he's trying to, I guess, rejuvenate is what he has in common with Takayasu, Endo, and Ishiura, of all people. They're all the same age.
Yeah.
And I never would have put those four together as being, the same age. And I think that, as we're seeing with Ishiura, he's kind of running out. He needs a new trick, and Ryuden's new trick, hopefully it'll last him a couple more tournaments before he gets figured out.
Okay, so I'm going to pivot back into the heart of the maelstrom, which is up at the upper ranks, and I want to talk about Takakeisho, who is trying his darndest to be as stoic as possible right now, and you can just tell that, every time the camera's on him, he's stone-faced, he's Mr. Serious. But he's started. He went to the joint practices, and Hakuho just really trashed him, which was amazing to watch. And little break over New Year's, he started training again, and he's looking pretty tight, but he's picked up a lot of mass in the last 4 months. I'd say that, man, he's looking maybe a little over the size that he can control. But Josh, what are your thoughts about Takakeisho? The man, if he can pull off a victory this time, a Yusho, he's getting the rope.
The really funny thing is that if you don't believe he's going to be a Yokozuna, he actually has the least on the line of anybody in this tournament. And I think that's what actually makes him dangerous, because it's possible he has the most on the line, as you say, because there are so few chances in your career that someone gets to become Yokozuna, right?
Yep.
Especially look over the past few years, how few Ozeki Yusho we've actually seen, or the equivalent, as they say. I think to your point, he seems to be in good shape despite the health. He's not someone who has what I would say are a lot of mental issues. His issues always seem to stem from physical limitations or injuries. I think he's genki. I think if you look at the last couple of years, a lot of his success has come at times when he's had a little bit of a depleted field. I don't just mean the last tournament. Certainly that was the case. But the interesting thing in this upcoming tournament, I think for him, is that if he stays healthy all 15 days, what kind of results can he get against a slate of extremely highly motivated opponents, many of whom have their backs against the wall?
So Andy, thoughts about is Takakeisho genki this time out?
Oh, I mean, that's the key thing, is that he's genki, but so are so many other people up there who have to. it's again that need. They have to be able to perform. And I don't know if Takakeisho's need will be there unless people start peeling away after the first week. Because he's going to start facing those Yokozuna and Ozeki next week. If I guess if enough scalps have been claimed, maybe Kakuryu doesn't last until the second week. I don't know, but they're all going to be gunning for a title or at least for 10, 12 wins. And Takakeisho, I don't think he's got the technique, obviously, to really, I don't know, branch out and make a run for a second straight Yusho. I kind of think the first that last one was a fluke. If with the very depleted top cast, so it'll be very, very difficult for him to perform to that level with a whole cast of characters.
Wow. Okay. Well, a lot's on the line. We all know that. But let's talk about someone a little further down the Banzuke, someone who's a real up and comer, and I'm talking about Kotoshoho, who I think he's the top man from Sarugatake.
Yeah.
At the tender age of 21 years old, the guy is a force of sumo. It seems this is the highest he's ever been ranked. It's his first time in the Joijin. He's up against a whole bunch of named ranked people who are just going to be flat out trying to win. Andy, do you think he's genki enough to survive with and get anywhere close to 8 wins?
Yeah, I think he'll get close to 8. Again, with so many people needing wins, he'll probably have a very rough first week, but he's got the talent to be able to pull off at least one or two upsets and then have a pretty decent second week. He reminds me of Aoyama. And
stamina and focus, because he's going to get beat on with no mercy the first week.
Yeah, and it'll be very fun to watch. His bout against Endo last time was really interesting because it was like, I mean, Endo lives on the belt,
yep,
and yet Kotoshoho was able to keep him off pretty effectively, and so I'll be very interested to see, since he's kind of a new element to a lot of the older guys up in Sanyaku right now. He may be able to throw in some surprises there that they've not. I mean, from an unknown person. I mean, they've seen everything other than Ryuden's twerking.
All right, Josh. So is Kotoshoho genki enough to survive this one?
I don't know. It's curious because he, as you said, Bruce, he truly enters the Joijin now in a really intense tournament. He's gonna have to face some hard matches. I think if he comes through with a winning record, it's amazing. Anything over 6, I think, is a successful tournament. A lot of those guys around Maegashira 2, 3, 4 are gonna do well to escape brutal records. But I think if he's gonna look to somebody, as maybe a barometer for how to do it successfully, I'd say maybe you look over the last couple of years at someone like a Hokuto-Fuji, who just always really struggles in that first week when he's down there, Maegashira 1, Komusubi, against the higher rankers. And, we've seen him come out of that first week sometimes, 3-5, 2-6, and then he turns it around in that second week. And, as the schedule lightens up, he finds the mental focus to overcome that deficit and at least get a creditable score. And hopefully Kotoshoho can do at least that well this time.
So 19 basho, only 1 makekoshi. So this fellow's going somewhere, even if he has a rough ride this time through. So speaking of people who've had a rough ride, I want to talk about whether or not Takayasu is genki. Takayasu always presents himself as a hero in training, much like Guedo did, and then sometimes struggles on at full power. He's been training like mad, of course, with Ariso Oyakata, the former Kisuna Sato. And those two have been practice partners for years and years, and they're very effective at elevating each other. He's talking about returning to Ozeki. He's about to become a father for the first time. And just recently in an interview, he said something that a lot of longtime sumo fans will kind of roll their eyes. He's still looking to win a Yusho. And maybe he will. I mean, I'd love for him to win a Yusho because he's one of the people I actually have a Tagata of. I've been a Takayasu fan for a long time, but I don't know how Genki is this time out. Josh, what are your thoughts about Takayasu? He's square in the middle of a really rough and tumble named rank battle that's going to take place.
Yeah, you'll know within the first few days. I mean, I guess that's, the upside of him being at Komusubi. You know what I mean? There's no chance off the bat for him to kind of phone it in for the first few days. He's really got to show up, dialed in. This is the problem, as you say, to hear him tell it. He's always going to be Genki. He's always going to be among the most Genki people. And what we've seen over the last couple of years is that, he's had a really bad time with injuries and the recovery from those injuries. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time seeing that if he's going to Yusho, it's going to happen in this tournament with everything else that's happening around it. But, as we've seen over the course of the last year in particular, at this moment in time in sumo, if someone can go on a good run, there's no reason that they can't, and it's just about, as I said earlier with some of these other guys, it's about having the mental toughness to go, okay, well, actually, I've got through this first week, not too bad. Now can I see this out? I mean, if someone like Tokushoryu can do that, then I think that, with the ability that Takayasu has, if his head's there and if his body works, why not, right?
Yep. All right, Andy, you and I have gone round and round on Takayasu multiple times. Do you think he's Genki enough to survive or maybe even thrive at Hatsu?
If he gets to wait until March. Then he's going to have a really, really decent break. But this last tournament, I guess, was the first time since he was down really in the depths of Makuuchi. He was able to clean up down there.
Yeah.
But his Komusubi, I guess, run there, he was pretty tight on Kachikoshi, and I think it'll be very difficult this tournament in order to have that same result. So I'm not as I guess optimistic, but I'm very eager to see him play spoiler.
Yep. Well, he's going to turn 31 next month, so it's kind of time to do it, or it may not ever happen.
Yeah.
So talking about veterans, we all love one fellow in particular because he's built like a brick wall, and even when he's on a bad streak, people love him, and that's Takarafuji. Andy, you picked Takarafuji to talk about in the Genki report, so let's hear your thoughts. By the way, Takarafuji, cheer towel up here on the wall, just to show you where my heart lies. Another Isagahama man. Take it away.
I mean, I absolutely love Takarafuji, and I was so happy to see him being just mentioned in the Yusho running last tournament, but he fell off the face, like he just fell off a cliff, and his performance kind of dove after he and he kind of dialed it in afterward. And so I don't think, the thing is, he's got a powerhouse of Isegahama behind him in order to be able to practice and get himself honed up for any tournament.
Yeah.
I just don't see him necessarily pushing for a Yusho, but and I guess the last time he was at this rank, he only picked up 5 wins. I do think that he'll probably do a bit better, but not much better.
Okay. Perennial journeyman Rikishi, Takarafuji. Josh, you've had your eye on him for years. Do you think he's Genki enough to do well this time out? Because there's a lot of people swinging for the fences this time.
No, I think the reason why I say that is you look at that week 2 from him last time. He was ranked at a little bit of a more friendly rank. It's not going to be easy right off the bat this time. He's the kind of person that, he kind of reminds me of when Kisano Sato retired, and I think he lost his last match. I think I was there, to Tochiozan. And Tochiozan was a similar kind of position, very technical, well-loved veteran in his early 30s, and he was the one who put Kisano Sato to the sword. And you could see in the first, day 3, day 4, him in a similar position against Kakuryu this time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking to see how a match like that pans out as a barometer for where he could go. But, I think I wrote a thing on the site in the middle of that tournament, which possibly jinxed him. And I was really hoping for it because, technically he was performing so well.
Yeah, he was super sharp.
And it was amazing to watch. But I think 5 wins may be the ceiling this time. It's so Maegashira 2. It's so hard.
So I'm going to dip into a little oddness because we all know that Waka Takakage is out with COVID. We hope he's getting good care. We hope he's getting better. But he shares the Maegashira 2 rank with Takarafuji. And as odd as it may sound that Maegashira 2 being Kyujo for the whole tournament, I kind of wonder if maybe that is not going to put a wrinkle in a number of schedules. But that's sort of my last comment on Takarafuji. We hope nobody else comes down with COVID because that would be freaking terrible. Yeah. But let's rotate on into our world famous, world renowned, regrettable predictions, where all of us usually by the middle weekend are fully embarrassed by what we talked about. So we're going to tender up a couple of predictions about the Hatsubasho. And Andy, because you are always the author of many howlers, you get to go first.
Sweet. All right. Onigiri-kun, Takanosho, Zensho Yusho, Ozeki promotion at the end of this tournament. He's beloved by all of Japan because he looks like a ball of rice.
But he's such this big grinning goofball. How can you...
And he's going to do what Goeido was somehow able to accomplish.
Which is what? You can't pick up Harumafuji by the testicles. Harumafuji retired.
Well, this Zensho Yusho.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you meant literally. And when I think about Goeido and things that no one else can accomplish, it was the whole... Yeah, never mind. Josh, regrettable prediction from yourself.
I don't even know why I bother because there's no way I'm going to top that. It's really hard because I look at this and this situation and I think, well, still, if Hakuho enters, is anybody really still the favorite over him? But I don't think he would. I don't think he'll win the Yusho this time, even if he does enter. So yeah, I'm kind of looking down at that category of Terunofuji, maybe someone like Asanoyama could, I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer.
Okay, so I'm also going to go a little bit on the crazy side. I'm going to say Hakuho Yusho because I think he still has at least 1 or 2 more in him. I think the real thing to watch is going to be Terunofuji this time. He is going to play spoiler. I believe he's going to wreck at least one person's career. I think he may claim at least one Katabano Zeki scalp. He may claim a Yokozuna scalp, much to the detriment of dear old Kakuryu, if he enters.
With a Henka or without?
No, he's just going to brutally destroy them kaiju style. But that's it for us for this Hatsubasho. We hope that you follow the blog as we go along. We love these tournaments. We know you do too. So remember, folks, thanks for watching. And for Sumo, it's Tachiai.